there's this I think belief that the FCC can just pull licenses and or we're pulling your license, we're pulling your license, and I'm sure there's a bit more of a process to it than that. But when President Trump is saying that he wants the funding to be cut off to these organizations, and I get that it's indirect funding, what tools are in the toolbox to get to the point where I think where President Trump wants the American taxpayer dollars not going to these left-wing causes?
Yeah, well, there are definitely sources of direct funding that you can directly reach, and that's obviously within the discretion of the executive branch, unless Congress has specifically told the president that he can't. And that's not the case here. So as far as direct funding, that's relatively easy to touch. As far as indirect funding, that's a really interesting question because as we are seeing, there are huge networks of indirect funding that pour from one place to another place. And the news says, I haven't looked into it myself, but the news was saying that there was a colossal slush fund discovered by DOGE recently that had been spent on wildly discretionary things, just on parties, And until you understand the source of funding for these organizations and have traced it all the way up the chain, you don't really know what the tax contribution is. On the other hand, I want to put some cold water on it, just to the extent that if people are supporting a community-supported TV station and that is paying up to a network and the network programming is what those people want to get, then that is First Amendment protected too. And that means as much as anything that we have to build up alternative media voluntarily, much as you're doing right at this moment, right? And this is, I think, part of why this White House has been so open to alternative media, to influencers, to podcasters, and to other people who are outside the mainstream structures that have grown up over this time. Those mainstream structures are encrusted partly culturally and partly financially with legacy sources of left-wing points of view that are probably pretty far to the left of the American public. The solution, as they say, the solution to bad speech is more speech. And the other side of it is that there's nothing that goes away so fast as a marginalized news organization. It doesn't have to be political marginalization. A lot of local newspapers just died for lack of interest. They were sort of killed off by Craigslist because they were being kept afloat by the classifieds. And then when someone provided classifieds on a cheaper basis that was online, that was the end of it. If it can happen to them, it can happen to anyone. It just took a single strike in the 60s to kill the International Herald Tribune. That's sometimes it's just a matter of people walking away and saying,
No,
I won't
I having worked
support or
in
indirectly support.
having worked in I actually got started in radio in Philadelphia as just at the intern level, and then doing sales and stuff. And when you see the margins and the budgets at some of this, it is very tight. And so you pull some source of funding and it immediately pops off.